Right now, I'm focusing more on food insecurity screenings and how. So when you can be screened for food insecurity, there's a 18 question screening that folks can take. That when you answer the questions, it can say whether or not you may or may not be food insecure. From the 18 questions, two of the questions have been proven to be valid and reliable when assessing for food insecurity. So if you answer yes to one of those questions, then you're considered food insecure.
Gotcha.
So why do you need the other 16 questions?
Yeah.
Question. Well, that's a whole other conversation.
Like you go through 18 questions, but you're like, two of them
It's probably the last one, by the way, Robert. It's probably the last question.
Yeah, the last two questions.
They found, though, that two of them were valid and reliable in assessing for it. So more people use the two than the 18.
Hey there. Welcome to the Gluten-Free Organic Thoughts podcast, where you are encouraged to express your natural thoughts and views through casual, meaningful conversations that hopefully can lead to learning and understanding new perspectives. To find out more info, visit www.gfothoughts.com. Now, here are your hosts, Michael Wong and Robert Din. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to Gluten-Free Organic Thoughts podcast. My name is Robert Din. I'm one of your co-hosts. Today, we welcome Christina Bernhardt onto the show to discuss a little bit about herself and then a little bit about food insecurity, like what it is and how we can help her to the situation. And then, as always, we have our other co-host, Michael Wong.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another good episode. Thanks for joining us, Christina. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I know it's been a while since you and I caught up, especially.
Yeah, quite a while. So it's good to see you both.
So, all right. You want to start off what you're drinking today?
Yes. So I am double fisting. I have some nice hydration, and then I also have a glass of wine.
It is good.
What's the first drink that you have?
It's like a pomegranate juice type thing. So it's like one of those powder things that you mix with water.
Okay.
And then comes with like a pomegranate flavor.
Both have some kind of benefits to it, right? To your body.
And I think so. Yes. It is, for the mind and soul, and the
there we go.
What kind of wine is that?
It is. I think it's just a blend. Hold on, I can tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not. It's Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir. All right.
You purposely hit the bottle on the back, stuff like that, but she doesn't.
It is. It's right back there.
Makes it a little more difficult to just reach for more.
What are you drinking, Robert?
So for me, I'm also double fisting today. I have a Vietnamese coffee that I made. Like I actually bought a thing for Vietnamese coffee.
Wow, you actually made your own coffee?
Yeah, from this coffee supply. These guys are it's like a New York company, and they like sell like the things to make the coffee and everything. So
I'm not surprised by that last name.
I know, right? It makes a lot of sense. But yeah, they make Vietnamese coffee. They send you the grounds and then the stuff to make it. So then I've been making my own Vietnamese coffee. Is it like
coffee. A kit?
They send in kit, and then like they have all the beans and stuff.
Nice.
So then I've been making that at home, and then I also have some red wine. This one is a Viensana, the Russian River blend.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. Where'd you find that?
California wine. I don't even know.
So one of your collections sitting there?
Yeah, it's just the bottle that I had around.
One of your 50 bottles is carrying around.
Oh my god! And I just bought some more. So.
But you got more than 50 bottles now? He's not even joking, by the way, Chris.
I bought more. I bought more wine recently.
It's real.
Do you have a
we went to
going?
Costco the other day, and we were just like, "Oh my god! Like wine here is so cheap, and like alcohol here is so cheap." And
he has a wine storage downstairs too.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. I have like a little wine cabinet right here, so I keep mine there. But sadly, I'm on my last bottle. Got to restock.
So you don't have
to restock.
Yeah, you don't have 50 bottles.
No, I don't think I could hold 50 bottles. My apartment's teeny tiny.
Wait, let me ask you this: did you start drinking more during COVID or drinking less?
Who, me?
Yeah. What is saying?
I think at the beginning of COVID, I was drinking more, but now for sure I'm drinking less.
That's good.
Yeah. I think at
You
the
pacing yourself.
beginning,
I think that's how it
yeah,
worked for me too. Like it was like,
yeah.
all right, I guess we're home. Like
Like, what are we gonna?
it's
Yeah, I
easy.
think,
So then, but now I'm like, all right, I need to cut back.
yeah,
Nice, nice.
yeah. That's how I feel too. Like the beginning for sure, but now I'm like, well, this
I
is the
actually
state of life right now.
I
So,
actually stopped drinking the whole time, like the
wow,
whole COVID time. Yeah. I was speaking of drinks. I'm having my ginseng tea Sunday, kind of recovery day, I guess you can say. It's
nice,
been it's,
Nice.
it's been a interesting weekend. That's all.
very good.
All right, so Chrissy, so tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you, or what have you been doing the past few years?
Yeah, sure. I am currently in school. I go to school at UCF, University of Central Florida, for their doctoral program in public affairs. So I've been doing that since about 2016. But prior to that, I went to school. How long ago was it long? Like 2010-ish.
Been too
At
long.
Florida State University. Go
Oh,
Noles.
oh
Yes.
no, another
Oh yeah,
no.
Robert, I didn't warn you. I didn't warn you.
Oh, I already told him. I
Yeah,
saw
she
that
told me
gator,
earlier, but
that gator blanket in the back.
yeah.
And yeah, so at Florida State, I did my bachelor's and my master's in social work.
Mhm.
And then after graduating, I worked several years doing medical social work. So I was in the hospital helping with case management and discharge planning. Depending on the situation, sometimes crisis intervention and grief and bereavement.
That's
Um,
crazy. That's a stressful job.
yeah, it was pretty stressful. I've been thinking a lot about my coworkers and the people
Yeah,
I used to work with,
yeah.
especially during COVID right now, because they're
Mm,
just so
gotta be a hard
overwhelmed.
time.
They're probably busier right
Yeah,
now, so
they
it's probably
are. Yeah. I know in Florida, our busy season was winter.
winter,
So
really. What?
usually October to April, it was super busy at the hospital. And from what my conversations have been, it's been like that throughout the entire year because of the pandemic. So they're really going through it.
So what made you decide to get into that, I guess, after right after school? Just wondering.
I was always really interested in doing medical social work.
Uh-huh.
Originally, I wanted to go into nursing.
Yeah.
My grandmother was a nurse. My aunt is a nurse by background. And so I thought, well, this is like a field that I think I would be interested in. I wanted to help people. And then I started taking different, sorry, little guy. I started taking different prerequisites for nursing, like microbiology and a little bit more of the clinical classes. And I did not enjoy it at all. I was not gifted in microbio or chemistry or any of that. So I reevaluated things and kind of made a list of what my priorities were, what my values were, what I wanted to
Nice.
do,
Wow,
for a
college you did
career.
this.
Yeah. Oh, after a lot of talking with my dad sat me down and he was like, you have to do whatever you're going to do for 60 years or more. You
You
got
might
to
as well
figure
do
out what
something that you
you,
like, right?
yeah, exactly. Do something that you enjoy. And so I was like, okay, well, I know for me, these things are going to be important, my values especially. So after making that list and kind of doing a little bit of digging, social work ended up having a lot of the same values and things that I
So what
hold.
are those values? I'm just wondering, like, curious.
So social justice,
Okay.
equity, treating people with dignity and respect. If you look at the social work code of ethics, I mean, it's
Yep.
all right there.
So like, did you, I
Um,
guess your background family, I guess, do you guys grew up in that kind of mindset? I'm just wondering, like, I mean, your mom, you mentioned your mom's a nurse, right?
my
And
grandmother was,
your
yeah, and
grandmother
my
was,
aunt
okay.
is,
And aunt was,
yeah,
okay. So like, I'm
yeah.
just wondering, like, what kind of like, I mean, obviously this kind of value runs in family. That's what it sounds like. And you grew up in it, right? So
Yeah, I mean, my family's very family oriented. Everybody's willing to drop anything and help you out if you need something. And so
that's awesome.
I always knew I wanted to go into something where I could be of help and of service. And so social work seemed to be the best fit for that. And the things that I had pictured in my brain doing in the medical field were more in line actually with social work than with nursing. I was less interested in anatomy and physiology and the chemicals and different medications, and more interested in like the social dynamics of the patient or what's happening with the family when the patient comes in. And that That is definitely something nurses do too. It's done throughout the hospital, but the central focus of that is within social work. So
Gotcha.
I was happy to kind of make that switch.
So how
And I
long
have, go ahead.
like how long you were in that in the hospital stuff doing for how many years?
5 years, I think.
5 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's like I can imagine just I mean you've seen cases to cases. I mean I'm sure you've seen the
Also seeing a lot
craziest
of
stuff.
stressful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. So my heart goes out to all of the physicians and the
Yeah.
nurses and lab techs, the social workers,
Yeah.
everybody, because they're going through it. Nurses and doctors are just some of the most amazing people I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
I have mad respect for nurses, especially, well,
The
really
patience that
anybody.
they have. Let me tell you, the
Yeah,
patience.
and you have to put a face on and keep going, even no
Yeah.
matter what you feel inside. So I know they're going through it right now. Everybody that's in the hospital is going through it. So I have mad respect for them because they're working their butts off for sure.
So how I guess during those 5 years, right? If you were to take one lesson learned, what would that be? I was wondering. Like,
Oh goodness, one lesson I learned a lot.
or okay, how about this? Let me change that question a little bit then. How about this? Going into it, right? What was the expectation, and then what it met? Did it meet your expectation, or did it surpass it? Or
How did it change your
yeah,
It changed my perspective 110%. I think, going into it, I thought I was going to be able to do a lot of good and a lot of help. And I think, I helped and I did good, but the struggles and the things that I saw on a day-to-day basis were problems that could not be solved in a
overnight.
hospital.
Overnight.
Yeah. Sometimes it wasn't something that could be solved with medication.
Is it like a higher power, or is it more like something that's kind of out of your control? What do you mean by that? Like, can you elaborate?
Something out of the control of the clinician or the helper. So a lot of things that people come into the hospital for aren't necessarily medical related, but they might be a byproduct of something within the community that's not serving for them. So that I think was the most eye-opening thing for me, is the solution, the long-term solution for some of these problems. So if we talk about diet, or if we talk about one medical condition like diabetes, for some folks, the solution to that isn't necessarily medication. It needs to be like a better diet or access
A
to
lifestyle
food,
change.
or
awareness,
And
education, probably.
yeah, exactly. And not everybody is on the same playing field when it comes to access for those things. So, not everybody has the same access to education or grocery stores or even pharmacies. They might not have insurance. There's social things in place that might prevent them from gaining that. And I think the thing I learned the most was just what those inequities looked like and how much that can actually impact your health.
That's true. Some people are just born into it. Some people had to work to get towards that, or some people, but some people are just not lucky enough to even have the awareness that, hey, they can actually have access to that or not. So I guess now after 5 years, right, you decided to go back to school. Is that when you decided, you know what, hey, I think I'm going to pick this niche and go into that? Or how did you come about the switch? Okay, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to pivot now. I'm just curious.
Okay. So I was driven to return to school to look at things from a social policy standpoint. So really, I just wanted to, sorry, kitty number 2 is getting in the way. I just wanted to learn more about health disparities and some of the things that I was seeing on a day-to-day basis that I couldn't solve from the bedside. And so my goal was really just to learn about that in general. And I got really passionate about food insecurity in particular. So for those that don't know, food insecurity is the inability to consistently afford food that leads to a healthy lifestyle. So, for some part of the month, you might have resources to be able to access that food. And for the other part of the month, you might not have any of the resources for the duration of the month, but it's the inability to be able to consistently afford those foods that lead to a healthy and active lifestyle. And I got really interested and passionate about this in particular because the health consequences of food insecurity are just rampant. Anything from diabetes to heart disease to poor sleep,
Just
poor
the
cognitive
long-term cost is
function.
crazy. People don't realize the back end cost of that eventually.
Yeah, exactly. So the cost of food insecurity just to the healthcare organization or society at large is
Yeah.
just, it's crazy. So I started studying that a little bit more from a policy standpoint of what's happening and how can we kind of change these things, not within the hospital, because hospitals are built to treat emergencies, right? Something's happening, you're sick, we're supposed to help get you better and send you home. So the solution to these things are not going to be within the hospital walls. They really need to be focused inside the community.
Yeah.
That's
Local
true.
level first, I guess. Start local.
Yeah,
Yeah.
local and then federal for sure.
So let me ask you this though. I mean, obviously being, one of the richest country in the world, why do we have this? Like it's the United States, you know what I mean? You would think that we wouldn't have this kind of issue, but we do.
We
So,
do.
so when you're talking about food insecurity, though, like, you're talking about like high end food that's like goods, like the good source food, not like the McDonald's hamburgers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So when you and I think about the grocery store, we might go to Publix or Winn-Dixie or Walmart or whoever,
Mm-hmm.
and we could access fruits and vegetables and whole grains and all the things that we need to have an active lifestyle and a healthy lifestyle. There's a lot of communities that don't have access to even just those basic grocery stores. So the things that their access to food is McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, corner stores, which not only are very deficient in nutrients, but they're also really costly over time. Like the food that you get at a corner store is going to be a lot more pricier than something from Publix or Winn-Dixie.
I don't know. I get a pizza for $5 at 7-Eleven.
Yes, exactly.
Just not the best pizza ever.
Which you could get fresh produce and make a meal for $5.
Mm-hmm.
That several meals for $5 depending on what you're making. So it puts folks at a disadvantage in multiple ways, not only economically but health wise as well. So it's a huge issue in the US. There's tons of what we call food deserts in the United States, which means those primary grocery stores aren't available, and they're mostly fast food joints that are available to communities. And it impacts people's health a lot. If you look at different chronic disease and how they cluster in certain areas, you might notice that they're more prevalent in communities where there's less access than others.
Is that because those areas don't have like the fresh farms close by, or like it's like costly to get the food there, or like they don't have like enough population? Like what is the reason that those?
There's a few different reasons. Some might be that folks don't want to build in those areas.
Isn't it because also density population, I think probably as well, right? It doesn't matter though. I feel like you said, right? Some people don't, I guess they may not see as beneficial cost benefit for them to build it, like you said, but that's for sure. Mm-hmm. But also part of it is that because companies looking to only maybe, looking for profit, and it's kind of like.
Yeah, I think that's one. And I think that if you're moving into a neighborhood that may be may look a little rougher around the edges exterior wise. Mm-hmm. Sometimes folks don't want to build stores in those areas because they think their insurance is going to go up, or they think they're going to have issues with theft, or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. Which is really unfortunate because those areas need those avenues and access to produce. And so it becomes difficult in that regard.
Yeah. So let me ask you this though. Now, with food insecurity, it's obviously it's a very well-known issue, right? And it's a lot of organizations who are fighting this from the ground up. I mean, especially during COVID time, it's probably getting worse and worse. And I guess because I know a lot of schools. I mean, a lot of kids depend on school lunches, Mm-hmm. And I've seen when the school got shut down, the school was still open to give out those lunches for parents to come pick it up. And don't get me wrong, it's that helps, but it doesn't solve the issue. You know what I mean? Like, and
Right.
so like, what do you think there could be like a long-term solution that can maintain, like that can help assist this? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think that putting money into communities is the best solution.
what do you mean by that though? Like, because putting community, I think one of the things is that, uh, so community could do some. I mean, when you said that putting money into community, what do you mean? Like, you're talking about like focusing on community gardens as a more different local programs, like.
Community gardens are a great idea, and a lot of communities have established those. I just watched a documentary. I'll find the name of it. It's something diabetes. I'll find the name and I'll send it to you, and maybe we can add it in the show notes. But they were talking about how they didn't have the fresh produce, and so they made a community garden, and they
Was this on
taught their
Netflix?
kids.
Was this on Netflix?
No, it was on PBS, I think. Blood Sugar Rising, maybe is what it was called.
Hang on, I actually saw. I just watched like a couple of weeks ago. I actually watched a documentary about this kind of thing.
Blood sugar rising, America's hidden diabetes.
Yeah, is it PBS that showed it? Yeah, I'm glad I was able to think of it. It was a really excellent documentary that goes over a lot of the diabetes problem that we have in the US, but they talk a lot about food insecurity and food deserts. And one of the commenters talked about the food garden that she helped build. And she said, we don't have a food desert. We're taking care of our problem here and trying to help fix that for their community members. And I think that, as a society, the healthcare in the US is the most expensive healthcare globally, right?
Easily.
So we have one of the worst health outcomes across all industrialized nations, but we spend the most on healthcare. And I think that if we were to take some of the funds and reallocate them into schools and education and community gardens and making things more accessible, making neighborhoods more walkable and parks and green space.
So you're saying apply within the front end instead of the back end, where you're trying to be proactive instead of be reactive.
Exactly. I think that we could help promote health in a different way and make it less expensive for Americans to afford their healthcare, because theoretically, hopefully more people would be healthier. And those areas historically don't get the same amount of money that we spend on healthcare.
Actually, speaking of healthcare situation, if you check a look at the NPR article I sent out, it talks about 19 million people live in food desert. So I'm like, holy crap! You wouldn't expect that. That's like, if you think about it, 19 million people. That's like 6% of the population.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Over 37,000 people were food insecure in 2018, I believe.
Yeah, something crazy.
So, and those numbers are only expected to climb because of COVID, because of so many people being unemployed and out of work.
Yeah, they're saying that it could double easily because of COVID.
I mean, Second Harvest on their website, they were saying that they were seeing nearly double the number of searches for food assistance.
So think about food banks.
Last year.
I remember in when I was in LA, I donated a bunch of food to food banks. And let me tell you, the lines was just out the door, like cars parked really far out, and they didn't have enough food just to give out. Literally, like I remember the first 2 months of COVID, it was just that bad. Like, and then it got worse as the shutdown lasted longer. And people just sleeping overnight in the cars in the line, just to get some food. Like a family of 5 people in there.
Yeah,
it was that crazy.
Yep, I was just across town volunteering to help give out food in West Orlando, and people were there lined up at 3:30 in the morning waiting for it to start at like 9. It's a huge issue right now. Yeah, I mean it's a huge issue regardless, but especially in COVID time.
With people like losing their jobs and not having a way to get food.
Exactly.
And pay for it. I saw in Vegas, I watched one of these these poker YouTubers, and he said that in Vegas, downtown Vegas, they have these refrigerators that people can come and take whatever they want, and people who can give, like, it's just like the community goes.
Is it like a giant fridge?
it's two or three giant fridges, and then there's some people that come, and if they have the means, then they come and they fill it up, and then anybody who needs it can come and take whatever they need.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think people are coming together to help try to do what they can for their neighbor. Second Harvest does amazing work in this area, especially in COVID times. They've got a new program.
What is Second Harvest for people who don't know what it is?
Yeah, sure. So Second Harvest is a Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida. They are with Feeding America, which is a national organization.
They work hand in hand together?
Yeah, I believe Second Harvest is under Feeding America.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and they have been doing incredible work. There's they lead a task force on health and hunger within the Central Florida community, working on different pilot programs with community organizations to help directly work on issues of health and hunger for residents. And within COVID-19, they've been able to put together a program called Bringing Hope Home, where they're trying to work on getting food directly to recipients who need it through transportation. So they're actually providing the transportation and delivering that food to home. So there's a contactless way of accessing that food, which is a huge issue because transportation is one of the food insecurity can sometimes go hand in hand with transportation barriers and not being able to reach areas that have food. And so a lot of what Second Harvest, the work that they've been doing within Central Florida has been kind of realizing that that transportation barrier also extends sometimes to even reaching the pantry. So I think it's really, really awesome that they've been able to work with community transportation partners as well as their volunteers to help deliver this food directly to folks that can't reach it and that need it.
That's pretty cool. I'm reading this about right now, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so they pretty much deliver food to literally to the door. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
contactless delivery.
So how does that work? I guess, like, how do people sign up for that? Like usually.
So I think on Second Harvest website, there's a phone number where you can apply to get within the program and a website. So I would direct the folks there.
Yeah.
Or an email, I think, where you can sign up.
Oh yeah, there's a whole form. Yeah, actually, I linked it right now. I'm looking at the form right now. So
I'm looking at it right now. Apply for the program.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool though. So like it's kind of like, so it's kind of pretty much just like, think about it, I almost like a sense like Postmates, but I mean for a good cause. That's what it is, to be honest.
Yeah, making things more accessible, which I think is key with all of us, is
bringing the whole program's pretty big. I think I've seen this what's called with backpacks during COVID. A lot of kids who can they don't have the means to do work from home, right, remotely in the beginning of school semester. And I've seen like they did something with Office Depot. They filled up backpacks out and mini little laptops, so that way kids who don't have access to that, because a lot of kids, especially in the low income area, they can't afford that kind of stuff, right? So they did this backpack things for a bunch of schools for kids who couldn't afford just to work from take classes from home because they didn't have a laptop, access to a laptop, things like that. So
yeah, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have something like that here too. I know I have some of my previous coworkers, they do delivery, like food deliveries to underserved communities, and they go and like I think they have like boxes of food that they bring, and then they bring it to people's doors and just deliver the food to them.
That's
and this was even
awesome.
before COVID and stuff was going on. They did this.
So let me ask you this though, Chrissy. I feel like this is a short-term solution. Just you can provide food and stuff like that, but there has to be a longer-term solution that they eventually they need to be able to have access. Not only that access, but also maybe create, right, in a sense, because that's what it sounds like. You can't just suddenly keep giving food all the time, and there has to be another level of help that where, like you mentioned before earlier, like from a community garden, in a sense, hey, for example, like if you work in this community garden, you should have access to this, right? Or even part of that, maybe, not necessarily working in community garden, but also maybe help expand the program, things like that to enable the neighbors. Like there has to be like, it's like you got to teach them how to fish in a sense, right? Making sure they keep feeding over instead of relying on that help.
Yeah, like reduce dependencies on it.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of work being done in that, in trying to create sustainable solutions at the community level. I know Second Harvest has a cooking class that I think it's on their website as well, where you can enroll and become proficient in cooking and culinary and help get prepared for employment after. So I think that there's a lot of work within these community organizations to help find those long-term sustainable solutions, for sure.
That cooking classes, I mean, I feel that creates awareness with people, right, as well, because that creates, okay, you can see what's what's actually, being nutritious, the way you cook food, things like that, because you can have all the best food, but you can't cook it. You must, I mean, it's kind of hard to keep that nutrition in that food if you don't know how to cook it right when you consume it. So
right, that's exactly right, and that's part of another pilot that Second Harvest is working on with community organizations, is a healthy box living program, where they're kind of not only providing food but helping folks understand how to cook it, what tastes good, trying to work with them on what is palatable or what their tastes are and what they would prefer to eat. I know prior to COVID that was an initiative that they were doing, which I think is incredible, because it's meeting the person where they are and helping them kind of learn what's healthy and what's not, but also taking into consideration what their taste might be.
Robert, think about the HelloFresh of that version.
Yeah, true, right?
Yeah.
What if their taste though is like McDonald's burgers and fast food?
I think that a lot of the education piece of what's what's good for you and what's not is critical there, because you have somebody that's able to explain how that McDonald's and fast food might hurt them in the long run with diabetes and heart disease and some of the things that they may or may not be struggling with.
That's true. So let me ask you this. So in your studies though, so what are you focusing on exactly in food security? Is it policy stuff? What exactly are you focusing on? Like,
so right now I'm focusing more on food insecurity screenings and how, so when you can be screened for food insecurity, there's a 18 question screening that folks can take, that when you answer the questions, it can say whether or not you may or may not be food insecure. From that 18 questionnaire.
So who takes that question?
Anybody can take it. Anyone can take it.
I want to take it.
You could take it if you wanted to. I think it's available online. But
like, I don't think you're food insecure at all.
I don't think you are either.
Our stomachs tell us that, like, show us already. Just the mirror tells us.
Our stomach doesn't tell anything, because we'd be eating crappy food, You never know.
But we're gluttonous in our crappy food, even so.
So I guess I mean obviously, like, but how does, like, I guess community have access to? I mean, first of all, who would take those screening tests, right? First.
Okay, so from the 18 questions, two of the questions have been proven to be valid and reliable when assessing for food insecurity. So the question is, within the last 12 months, have you worried that you were going to run out of food before you could buy more? And the second question is, within the last 12 months, have you run out of food and didn't have the ability to buy more? If you answer yes to one of those questions, then you're considered food insecure.
Gotcha.
So why do you need the other 16 questions?
Yeah.
Question. Well, that's a whole other conversation.
Like, you go through 18 questions, but you're like, two of them
and it's probably the last one, by the way, Robert. It's probably the last question.
Yeah, the last two questions.
They found though that two of them were valid and reliable in assessing for it. So more people use the two than the 18. But so food insecurity is now, it's been recommended that medical professionals assess for food insecurity, because it's a social determinant of health. It's one of those things that can impact your health heavily, but is not necessarily a medical issue. And so, it gets assessed within hospital environments and outpatient environments as well. but it's less consistent being assessed in an outpatient, like a primary care doctor's office or a clinic or urgent care, whatever the case may be. So what I'm studying is more about those screening processes within outpatient settings and how the patient and the healthcare provider relationship can impact someone's comfort talking about food insecurity. Because it's a really
So you close the gap in a sense. It kind of helps close that gap. That's what you do, right?
kind of, yeah. It's looking at it more in an outpatient setting and trying to better understand what makes folks comfortable talking about it and what does not make them comfortable talking about it. It's easy for somebody who's not in food insecure to talk about food insecurity, right?
Yeah.
But it's a really deeply personal conversation, and it's really sensitive because it's more than just talking about whether you have.
It's a little bit shameful.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It can be. Yeah. So it's talking about your finances. It's talking about, do you have a car? Do you have access to transportation? There's a lot of vulnerable things within that conversation. So
well, would that conversation happen with your physician, or would it happen with more of a social worker or someone like that?
It could happen. It could vary depending on the facility.
Because even now, like, I have health insurance and I don't have a primary care person, right? Like, I don't have a physician. So someone who's like already, like, who doesn't have the means, I don't know if they would have a doctor to go to, or like,
or a counseling or social worker,
or like go to anything. But like, I don't know who.
But even if you do the Robert,
who would assess this if they don't have the person to do the assessment, or like they don't see
and that's
anyone.
a really good question. But it seems in my research that every facility kind of does it differently based on the needs and the capacity of their own office. So it might be the physician, it might be the nurse doing it at intake, it might be a social worker if they have one on staff. It just varies. It just depends on what's available in that office.
But even if you have somebody that I feel like building that trust and relationship, it takes some time to get into that, because I feel like you gotta be able to trust somebody that they know. Okay, you know what? I'm okay. I can open myself up.
Right.
Think about it. Like it's not like you said. It's definitely not an easy topic to talk about though.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, if you have a family that you need support, you're gonna do whatever it takes. To be honest, sometimes. So.
And also, it's just like getting different people, like to take it, right? Like it's. I don't know if we want to wait until they have to go to the emergency room, see, like, to
getting ahead of the game,
right?
Like, you should get
like where would we start the funnel so that we like grow the funnel so like more people can go through this and we can understand like the full scope of the problem versus right now we only know people who take the tests or like take these screenings, right? Like, but then that's only like a very small portion. The people that get sick, or the people that get sick and go to the doctor, or like, you know, like it seems like
it's too late already at that point.
Yeah, at that point you've already like gone way past where you need like.
Yeah, you're already malnutrition already in a sense, right? So I guess, you know, when I was reading about more about food insecurity, it's about also the nourishment behind that, right? So the lack of nourishment in a sense. So are there programs where, I mean, I don't know this whole industry in this in general, but are there programs where they take this screening like a little bit more as an outreach, like a proactive approach versus, you know, people coming into, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so I think doing the screening in medical settings is that initiative, like trying to screen folks that are, whether you're in the hospital, you're in the ER, you're in wherever you are, screening you for food insecurity, so that if you are food insecure or you come back positive on that screening, you would be able to be connected to resources more timely, more efficient, and more sustainably, right? The problem is, you know, even within that system, say everybody screened folks for food insecurity and this wasn't a problem at all. We still have a society, or we still have a system where there might be people that fall through the cracks because there's no follow-up. So I think there's more emphasis on community organizations that are trying to close that loop and really be there for our community members, no matter who they are, no matter what they need, to make sure that, you know, if patient A needs a referral for whatever it is, somebody is calling to make sure patient A got what they needed. And I think that that's where not only healthcare, but community organizations are moving together to work collectively on those things, because I think collectively everybody understands that this is a big issue and it impacts our community. And I wholeheartedly believe, and I think the organizations that I work with would agree, we get so much more done and we work so much better when we work together.
So have you seen some of the positive results since you've been exposed to that? Just wondering.
Yeah, it's really inspiring to see these organizations work together and come together to work on these issues that benefit the people that they serve collectively. So I think there's a lot of really good work being done in the community. Second Harvest is somebody I would talk all day long about how incredible they are, and every organization that partners with them is the same. They're all strongly vested in this, whether that's health and hunger or other areas that might impact health, that's driven by those social determinants like lack of access to food, lack of access to transportation, education. It's really inspiring to see folks come together.
So in your study, right, you mentioned that you focused on food screening. So what else, I guess, within food screening, right, what else do you actually transpire to take that next step? What would that be?
So I think it'd be really great, and I think the next step would be to look for bringing community members and healthcare providers together to think about what those solutions to screening issues might be. So kind of better understanding what the problems and barriers might be, but then bringing them together to try to come up with what the solutions might be as well.
So it's almost having it's almost like having a panel in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Try to have a panel of kind of, recite and okay, how do you close that gap, and how do you also even educate those folks? Because I feel like you mentioned education a few times. I feel like educating, it's definitely lacking, and without that, you don't have the awareness that you're even in that spot. And so, but also like having the accessibility behind that, to be honest, it's what you don't know, right? When you're in that bubble, and it's kind of hard to break out of bubble. And the only way you break out your own bubble is that, okay, you see this, oh wow, I should have access to this. It should have never been this hard in general in the first place. So
when I say education, I mean it really broadly. So not only education, on whatever the topic might be, right? Like whether that's medical or food related, but also just education in general.
Oh yeah.
Like education is the gateway to anything, right? And there's such a discrepancy. We have health disparities, we have educational disparities too.
For sure.
That's a huge thing in our nation as well. So I think making the playing field equitable for everybody is a huge undertaking that we need to do collectively as a society.
So now, as part of your study, so what else do you focus on? Just wondering.
So I also look at HIV research. So specifically with college students, kind of their attitudes and perceptions on HIV and HIV testing. What else do I look at? Those are the two main areas that I've looked at. So I think that would be where I would go in the future, but we'll see.
So, okay, you're done with your program soon, right?
Oh, God willing, yeah. Maybe next semester. So I'm hoping in spring.
In spring? Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's your next step?
So I'm applying for jobs right now.
Okay.
So a few different avenues, research and teaching, and we'll see. But
do you have like a one passionate?
Yeah. Do you have like your
passionate
my end goal?
Yeah, your top goal and your second. Yeah.
I go back and forth because I would love to work as a researcher for a nonprofit agency like Second Harvest or Feeding America. I'm just so passionate about the work that they do, and I think it's amazing work. It's amazing to even just be involved as I am now. But I also think I would really enjoy teaching. I love the university atmosphere. I love interacting with students on campus. And so I could see myself doing research and teaching as well. So, at this point,
It's two different paths though.
it's two different. I can't see myself not being involved in community organizations no matter what. So I think I would like to try my hand at teaching and try my hand at the research and teaching in a university. But I think, for as long as I am working and beyond, I'll be involved in organizations like Second Harvest and the work that they're doing, because it's just incredible.
That's good to hear. But I feel like sometimes, I don't know. At least when I went to school, I didn't end up doing what I'm doing, what I went to school for. To be honest.
I mean, I didn't either, right? Like, I changed my major a couple times. I ended up in social work. When I graduated from FSU, I thought maybe I'll go back and get my PhD, but I thought I would get it in clinical psychology or counseling or something. And I thought I would be doing therapy with oncology patients. That was what I thought my plan was at the end of graduation. And, you work a few years, you get exposed to different things, and your plans sometimes change with experience. And that's what happened to me. And I'm very grateful for all the experiences that I've had. It just adds fuel to my fire and gets me excited to work, because there's a lot of work to do.
Also, like, I was pre-med or pre-farm before, and I had the same path where I was like, I don't like biology. I don't like this stuff. But I didn't have, like, my parents were different than yours, where they were like, this is what you're gonna do. versus for you, they're like, oh yeah, just do something that like is going to be fulfilling and stuff. And my parents were like, no, this is like secure work that you need to get into.
I mean, my dad put the hammer down a minute there, but he was like, I think he got a little frustrated, and he was like, just figure it out. Like,
go figure it out. Go write your list out.
Write a list and figure out what you want to do. He's all about the list. But yeah, it's hard, I always think about this. When you're 18, does anybody really know what they want to do? Even when you're 21,
and you don't know the repercussions. Like, you don't know.
Listen.
You don't know, like, I'm gonna go and be a finance major, and then how did I get to where I am now? Like, the path is not as smooth as, we're gonna do this. And
it is not linear at all.
Let me tell you, Chrissie, I'm 34. Let me tell you, I don't know what I'm doing right now.
Me neither.
All right. So we're gonna pivot a little bit here. So we're gonna do the extra MSG session, funny segment. And the reason why I want to break this into, so that way we can, in the second half, we can discuss a little bit more about actually, from an economical standpoint, right? The cost of that, for food insecurity. So Robert, you want to start with your funny segment first? What do you have for us?
Yeah, sure. So I have this Reddit post. It's not even, there's like nothing visual about it. I'll just tell you the story. Yeah. But I'm gonna link it here so that we can link to in the show notes. But yeah, it's this guy who went over to his girlfriend's house. He said, so I went to my girlfriend's house and we were eating dinner. Her dad was telling me that I better treat her well. And he said, whatever you do to her, I will do double to you. So I look at him silently for a second, and then I pull out my wallet and gave my girlfriend $50. Needless to say, me and her dad are now best friends, and I have $100.
How'd you find that?
I don't know. It just came up.
That's terrifying. That could have gone bad.
I know, but that's a good way to go about it. Now he's $50 richer.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. All right, Chrissie, you have one for us?
I do. So my, I think I said earlier, I've recently got into Twitter. Yep. After being a Twitter hater for many years, I finally gave in. And now I love Twitter. I think it's the coolest thing. But I found this person on Twitter. Their handle, I'm going to put it in there you go. You should have it now. His name is Ryan Ken, and he makes the funniest little, I don't know what you would call them, because I think they're TikToks.
Oh yeah. The skits, the little skits.
Skits, there you go.
Yeah.
He makes the funniest skits, whether it's about, pop culture and shows, or current events. He did one on Halloween for the election.
Yep.
That was really funny. It kind of have you guys seen Schitt's Creek?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. He impersonated Moira
No, we did not.
Yeah, he did, and he did it perfectly. He did it to a T, like from the wig all the way down. It was just great.
I love that show, by the way.
It was so good.
I didn't expect. I was talking about Shakespeare. I didn't expect me to like actually like that kind of show, but it drew me in right away. I was like, okay, this is actually pretty interesting, hilarious.
It's so good. So I really enjoyed watching the TikToks that he posts on Twitter, because I just think he's hilarious.
What's
Wait,
your favorite
you're not on TikTok?
No, I'm not on TikTok.
Oh, you're not on TikTok?
Oh,
You should
come
totally get on
on.
TikTok.
No, people send me TikToks
That'll waste
all the time.
hours and hours of your time. Easily. Easily.
I know. I'm barely on Facebook and Instagram, so
No, but this is so much more interactive than TikTok.
Oh, really? All right.
All right, mine's not that funny, but it's kind of funny in a sense. So it's also another Reddit post I just sent you guys. So pretty much it's kind of, so for those who are not actually watching this, so it's a drive-through, and it's a video of a guy, of someone filming, handing a baby to somebody, and then they're getting food. They're getting a Starbucks. It looks like a Starbucks. They're getting a drink out of that, and they just traded it. They just bartered it. Pretty much, they just traded a baby for a drink. And you're like, what's going on?
Wow.
COVID times.
That was it. I think that's a liability that he just gave him.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like, that's not even
It's
payment.
not an asset, right? Yeah.
That's not an asset that she gave.
Yeah.
She gives
The title says,
now you gotta go buy diapers, Starbucks.
Yeah.
Like, that's on you now.
their newest employee.
Right. Yeah. The title says COVID has forced people to into bartering. So it's kind of funny. I thought that was kind of funny. Oh, yeah. All right. All right. So actually, the second part of this conversation, I want to get into a little bit about the cost of this, right? I'm sure you probably have done your research and stuff. You probably know. So I guess on an estimate standpoint, just wondering, like, do you have a number or have you seen, I guess, how much is costing us for all this healthcare costs due to food insecurity part? I'm just wondering.
There's been a lot of studies that have looked at that.
Yeah.
And I don't have a rough estimate on the top of my head. If I could dive into my dissertation, I could probably find it. But
you have a dissertation?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to finish up next year.
So what are you writing actually? Like exactly? Like
on this topic. So
on this topic itself. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're done with classes this coming quarter, and then your dissertation has to be done when?
So I'm done with classes completely. So now I'm just finishing up the dis. Yeah. And so that I'm hoping will be done by next spring.
Oh, I see.
And then I'll be done with school. So that's the prayer. So if you pray, please pray. I'm ready to be done. No, it's been a good experience so far though. But yeah, so it costs a lot of money for folks to be admitted into the hospital and to be treated with these health concerns that are in large part driven by diet and lifestyle choices that are in large part affected by access to things, whether that's food or green space, so parks, things for people to be mobile outside, education, etc., housing, all of that stuff. So it costs, I don't have a hard number that I could give you, but if you think about what it would cost to buy healthy food in comparison to what a visit to the ER would be, it's like a night and day difference. It's so much more expensive to be treated in the ER for these issues, than to get the resources in the community. So my thing is, I think it would be way more economically savvy and financially savvy for all of us if we were to tackle this issue in the community directly, even though it would require money to be poured into the community. The long-term benefit of seeing those healthcare costs go down would be something worth thinking about.
Just throw a number out there. I'm curious. Just throw a number out there. How much healthcare costs associated with food security it is, do you think?
All right, you're going to make me Google it. I don't want to throw a number out there.
No. You're like 16 gazillion.
No. I already check the link out in the message. Let me tell you, I already have that figured by state, by the way.
Oh, you do?
You look this up and then you're trying to get her to like.
I know. I'm like, I don't want to
trying to push her into a corner.
So check this out into CDC website. They have it broken down by state. If you scroll down the chart, and you can show that.
Oh, I see. I like
Oh
that.
It's
wow.
crazy.
Yeah, and look at Florida and
look
the
at Florida
South.
in general. Yeah, look
Yeah,
at
the
Southeast.
South has a big food insecurity issue.
It's in billions. People,
Mhm.
healthcare associated costs with food security is in
Yeah.
billions.
So look by county though too. You
Oh yeah,
know,
get this one
Orange
down.
County is right in greater than 20 million.
That's so crazy. Like and
Mhm.
look at the per capita too.
Yep. So 1 in 6 adults in Central Florida
But
is food insecure.
why is it that like what is this like Colorado, Montana, not North Dakota, South Dakota?
Why that light? It's
Why
probably
are
less
they so
less.
light?
I mean, it's also probably less a little bit less dense population though. Also as well, keep that in mind.
They might have more farming as well.
That's true too. Yeah.
I think those Midwestern states do a little bit more agriculture, and so maybe they have more programs set up, but I don't know specifically. That's just a guesstimate.
Mm.
Yeah, but anyway, so anyway, this whole if you you could dissect down more into the county level too as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is a good like I guess source of studies that they gathered together. They gathered I think 2016, I believe, or
Yeah.
I think they just recently published this in.
I guess when you look at it like per capita by county, it's mostly in
Yeah,
like Texas, Louisiana,
what's
Alabama.
in the southeast? Like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this came out in 2019, so
Yeah.
this was pretty recent.
Yeah, it's actually. I mean, it's probably gotten worse since then. To be honest, if you think
Well,
about it.
this chart is from 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I think that, you know, in a couple of years when they're looking at what's been happening during COVID, we're going to see those numbers completely change. And you might see it look a
Yeah.
lot different in those Midwestern states than it does right now.
Yeah, look at Florida alone. That's the percentage of adults is like 12%,
Mm-hmm.
over 2 millions, and of kids is about 20%.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, and it's costing the state literally roughly around $4 million per. What's it per? What is it 4 million? What's it mean $4 million? Is it per household? What does it mean? What does this mean?
Where are you
What,
looking
where
at?
are you?
I'm in the table 2 on the bottom.
Is it table?
Yeah, so
Oh,
if you scroll down,
tables. I see.
yeah.
There's even more to it. I only went to like the visual and then I stopped looking.
You like the images only?
Yeah, visuals are nice.
Number of food, state cost factor, estimated state cost.
Yeah, it's. I mean, okay. To be honest with you, I did not expect this kind of number though. But when I saw this, I
Yeah,
was like, "Holy moly!" I was like,
it's a huge problem.
and that's because we're not being proactive at it. That's. I mean, imagine the fact if we can even change this by like 1%. You know, what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
the impact of being proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think being proactive is a huge thing. I think having conversations like this is another really important thing to do because it's education number one, but then it helps break down the stigma of food insecurity as well, because it makes it more relatable of, wow, this is happening to a lot of people. You know, this isn't just a specific group of people that are at risk for this. And with COVID, and people losing their jobs more and more, it's impacting a lot more people that weren't food insecure before but now
Yeah.
are.
But this is also including like this food insecurity is also including people who just live a bad lifestyle, right? And just only go to like these fast food places and they have food but they don't really eat
Well,
as well as
I
they
mean,
can.
but that's because
No, it wouldn't include those people unless they couldn't afford their food, right?
so it's a,
that's the choice. Like, so if you have access to foods that can help provide a healthy and sustainable lifestyle, but you're choosing not to,
that's
you're
a different
still,
story though.
yeah, you're still putting your money towards something.
Yeah.
You're making that choice. Whereas, you know, if you might be relying on that fast food
So
because you don't have any other
all of these
choice.
numbers are based on like people taking that survey and saying that they are food insecure and this is the result of it.
So
We would have to look and see where they got it from. But I think it's from a survey, or it might be from a national.
If you scroll down, it's appendix. There's appendix there that tells you what the sources are.
National Health Interview Survey, Medical Expenditure Panel survey data.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Chrissy. So if you have food stamp, right? People who have food stamp, they have the choice to buy good food or bad food though, and they don't choose to buy healthy food. Would that not count?
So some things about food stamps that we might not understand or
Yeah.
be aware of is
Yes.
that because you have food stamps, it doesn't mean that you can walk into the grocery store and buy whatever you want. There are things
They're limited. Yeah.
it's limited, yeah. And so it might be limited to certain things. You might have to go to certain places that accept food
Is there
stamps.
brands? Like, is it different brands, or how does it work? So like when you
That I don't know for sure. I'm not
so
100% sure how they make that decision.
gotcha.
But it's their locations that are even contracted. So it's not like you could walk to the Publix and get whatever you wanted. It had to be like a food stamp accepting location. That very well may be Publix. I don't know if they're contracted or not, but it can still limit the choices that people can make, even if you have a voucher like a food stamp.
Gotcha. Because obviously, I mean, they're not gonna say, hey, you use food stamp to buy a bottle of wine, right? Or buy a bottle of liquor or whatever it is and stuff. This has to be, because I know that certain places take food stamp, and it benefits the grocery store as well, right? Because that's the whole point of them to take a food stamp, right? Kind of helps them out in a sense, because the government that covers the subsidy behind that. But I think there are certain things called, like, I guess, non grocery items. So I think they don't. I'm looking this up right now quickly. There's a whole policy behind this, but
I know that there's definitely foods that they're not allowed to take, like that, or like they're not allowed to buy with it, and a lot of it is brand name stuff. They have to buy more of the.
So how do you know them? And I guess, how do you? What's the limitation type? Because let's say that you want to buy organic avocado, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like,
well, so let's take a step further. Let's take one step back. So say I'm on food stamps and I'm have a very limited income. I get food stamps to help with food. I'm going to the store and I'm picking out food for my family. Say the oranges that are being sold are $4, but I can get crackers that are $2, and I can get double the amount of crackers for that $2. If I have limited income and I have choices to make like this, and I need quantity to get me through the month a little bit, that might be my priority more than the quality. I might be somebody that reaches for that non-healthy item, and it might not be because that's my choice, but it might be because that's what's more economically savvy for me at the moment, even though I know I might be compromising my health. That's the thing that we see a lot with poverty and healthcare and health in general, are these choices that folks have to make where they're compromising their health
to have food on the table. That's crazy.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Right. So it's not even that they have the food stamps and that's the answer. It's that even when they have the food stamps, there might still be a limiting factor that inhibits them from making that healthy choice.
So do you think, like, the food stamp program needs to evolve in a sense that, and not only that, not just only evolve, maybe educate, to be honest, right? Because right now I don't see. I'm just doing quick research right now on Google. Literally, I don't see anything about, hey, make smart choices behind this, and here's a recommendation for a family of 4. Like things like that, nutrition. I just see, like, hey, this is your limitation. That's it. I'm literally, like, just did a quick Google. What's my food access limitation food stamp? And
yeah.
But you looked up limitations. So
well, you have to, though, because what else?
That's what you're looking for, limitations. You're not looking for suggestions.
Oh yeah, but let me
look up some suggestions. Like if you're gonna look up limitations and then be like, oh, they only told me limitations, like that seems wrong. But like, I remember in college we used to live next to this family, and they were on food stamps, and every month they had excess, so they would like come over and like.
What do you mean excess? Sorry, what do you mean by that?
I mean, I don't know. They were on food stamps and they had like way too much milk and way too much bread.
Oh, there's too much food. Okay, got it.
And so not
the vouchers you meant. Like,
wow.
I mean, they had to have too much vouchers to get so much food, right?
Well, they have to spend it, right? It's not part of the policy.
So you have to spend it, or else you
lose it,
I guess.
Yeah.
And so they might be the exception rather than the rule when it comes to having excess, because a lot of the literature and the research that I've looked at, folks can't even make ends meet with the food stamps. So they might still be food insecure at the end of the month because those food stamps are up.
They might have other stuff going, like disability income and stuff that's helping. that's adding on. But yeah, they always had extra food, and they would come over and bring it to us and be like, "Hey, we have 3 gallons of milk extra. Do you want one? Do you want some bread?" like he would come over and give us food, and we were always like, "Why do they have so much extra?" Versus a lot of people who I've heard are on this, they don't have enough, right? So
Right.
how do you I don't know, how do you look at that and say and like be able to manage that while other people are like are like struggling, right? And then other people who are just have way too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really good question for um, the folks that decide how much each person is allotted. A lot of times it depends on the poverty level. Um, but I don't know how frequently the poverty level is updated. And so that might be one of the reasons why folks still can't make ends meet. So the food stamps are supplemental program. It's called SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Yeah, I just
It's
posted a bunch of links right now to you guys.
oh cool.
So they do actually educate to a certain limitation about how to
What to choose.
from to be more conscious about it. Like actually, they even I think there are like a couple what's called medical I guess websites where they kind of guide them, promote program. Hey, join a free class. I think yeah, Robert, I sent that over. If you look at the pcmr.org, that's one of the websites that it's like a physician community to help provide some kind of
I wonder if anybody who's like on food stamps and like needs this help, if they have even the time to like look through and
probably
like
not.
Yeah.
research all of this.
Right.
Because we are sitting here like in luxury, right?
Yeah.
And we have time to take a look at all this stuff and be like, "Oh, they have all of these available." But like, do we know
How well do they advertise
how,
it?
how well do they advertise it? Do people
Yeah.
who are on these programs do they actually go out and look for all this stuff?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, if I was struggling, I don't know if I would be sitting around looking on the internet about all this stuff. I would just go out and try to survive. Like it's like a
Right.
Well, yeah, your
survival
mindset's
kit.
different, right?
Yeah.
You're worried about putting food on the table versus actually what, like mentioned, Chrissy, you mentioned like
Mhm.
you're sacrificing that quality or that even the quantity in a sense, right? To feed, just to stretch that food out for as long as possible.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, SNAP was intended to be supplemental. It was intended to kind of get you through the end of the month when your own income might run out mid-month
Yeah.
or towards the end of the month. But poverty is so bad that folks are not using that as supplemental. That's
They rely on
oftentimes
it.
right. For a multitude of different reasons, and that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But it's so hard for folks to make ends meet, hardworking folks that are trying to do their best. And so sometimes we don't think about, I think the most important thing that I've learned, maybe to go back to your question of what I've learned at the hospital.
Yeah.
I learned so many things there, but one of the things that I learned the most was empathy. And you really, because I was privy to so many people's hardest times, when you're going through the hospital or you're going to the hospital, it's a hard situation no matter what the case is. And I was privy to seeing that for so many folks, and you really just don't know what anybody is going through. And so I think for me, the biggest takeaway is, not to make any judgments about why somebody might need food assistance or any type of assistance, because we don't know what their struggle is or what they're going through day to day.
Yeah.
The best thing that we can do is, as fellow human beings, is to have empathy for our neighbors and to help when we can. And so, the choices that somebody might make when they're on food stamps or they might not make, everybody makes those decisions based on where they're coming from a personal level that the rest of us may not be privy to. So I think at the end of the day, people are just trying to do the best they can.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think that's a good way to put that, because the empathy is kind of, I feel like, especially now during the COVID time, I feel like people need to be, I mean, it comes down to human first, right? In a sense, you are a human, human being, and everyone has the same necessity. You want food to survive, you want basic water, basic needs in a sense. And it sucks. It takes this kind of time, like this kind of, I guess, pandemic to make people realize that more and more. But imagine like for those who are truly struggling before the pandemic, right now they're even struggling even more.
Yeah.
There's more people.
And there's more people now. Population is getting,
Yeah.
it's just it's getting, population just increasing throughout every year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or those people that weren't struggling, they were making ends meet, and now they are in a crisis, and now they are struggling. Yeah.
So like, going back to, I guess, to one of the original question was that, so now do we consider the people who have food stamp considered as part of having food insecurity then, because they, even though they part, or they did not, because I guess they have this program to help them to meet the ends meet though?
No, I think they would still be considered food insecure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
because you're still having to rely on something to help get you through.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, think about worldwide. This is just the United States. Worldwide is probably a big chunk of people population. I think it's like what, 9%? I think 10% or something more.
Yeah, I don't know what the rate would be worldwide, but I would imagine it would be a lot.
Hang on, I actually had that number pulled up a while ago too. For me, I found this topic fascinating, so I pull a bunch of data out of this.
Oh, I'm glad. I could talk about this stuff all day. It's very near and dear to my heart for sure.
Yeah, it's one of the. I mean, you would think the richest country in the world will fix this, right? Like you will.
So they're saying, we were saying, what was the number of people? 18 million or 9? Was it 9 million? I don't remember.
That are food insecure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think in 2018 it was 36,000 were food insecure. They were impacted by food insecurity, about 36,000.
36,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Hold on a second. That doesn't sound right.
That sounds very low.
Super low compared.
Yeah.
I think we were looking at
Orange
before.
County. That might be Orange County alone.
Yeah, maybe that was Central Florida. That's not right, because I know it was like 14 million at one point.
No, so it's 40 million people in 2016 for America alone.
No, it says it in 2014, 17.4 mil.
17.4 mil. That was 2014.
That was 2014 though.
Yeah, 20.
I think it's a little bit lower in 2018. I think it was 14.3 million. U.S. food insecurity.
Feeding America.
According to this, it says 28 million.
9.
Yeah. Are you looking at the Feeding America article one?
Which one are you looking at?
Here's the Feeding America one here. I have the link for that one too.
Oh, what? Wait, what was the number that
35 million over as of 2019.
50 million people may experience food insecurity in 2020, including a potential 17 million children.
Yeah, in 2018 was 14.3 million.
Yeah.
Oh, due to coronavirus.
Okay, so 36,000 must be Central Florida.
Yeah, I was like 36,000.
That doesn't seem right.
Is this really a problem if it's 36,000?
It is for sure.
It's crazy. Like the amount of so for me, going back to what you mentioned, about empathy, right? So during college, one of my volunteer work was that I did this like at least once a month. So Ronald McDonald House. So I love cooking, and that's just I like cooking in general. So I figured I do volunteer to cook for families who are in needs there. So Ronald McDonald's House does a good job, for those, because they can't stay in the hospital. When they do stay in the hospital, like they can't afford food, things like that. So me and my friend used to go to Ronald McDonald's House on Sundays, just cook a big meal for her families comes in and needs, because they were nice. I feel like that, even though it can help just put a smile at least for the day of somebody, they don't have to worry about food, right? Feeding the family, because they're spending so much money in the hospital bills just for the loved one there. So and during the pandemic time, I saw that shutting down. I was like, holy crap. And people are, there's a lot more people in hospital now because of COVID, right? And so like it's kind of like heartbreaking that when I saw that, I was like, man, Ronald McDonald's House shut down. What are people going to rely on? Like those people who are just, they have no place to stay. They have no, they got no food, in a sense. Like they literally probably sleep in the car.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, when I was doing some research during the summer when the pandemic first started, and a lot of food pantries were closing down because the staff that they had were primarily elderly folks that were volunteering, and they couldn't be exposed, and then there was the lockdown as well. So there was a lot of pantries that had closed. So food insecure folks, that rely on that may not have even had access, at that time. which is why programs like Bringing Hope Home are just that much more important, to just get that directly to folks that need it.
That makes a lot of sense. So like, so like, I guess let me ask you one thing though. Like, I mean, let's say that you had a position, right? You can tackle one aspect of food insecurity. What would that main priority be? Just curious.
Oh goodness.
One aspect of it. Just wondering, like, yeah.
Just one.
Like do we think that might be the highest priority to tackle?
I mean, so if I had a magic wand and I could do whatever I wanted, I would find a way to make sure that accessing food was considered a human right, that
a human right.
Yeah, so that you always would be able, everybody would be able to access food somewhere, some way, somehow. So that, if folks want to choose something that is a little bit unhealthy because that's what they prefer versus something that is healthy, it would be an even playing field for everybody to be able to make that choice. And people wouldn't have to, I think what's heartbreaking to me is that so many folks have to sacrifice their health to live.
That's true.
So, what's the first thing that we put off when times are tight? We don't go to the doctor. We might not take the meds that we need. We put off food. Yeah. And that's really heartbreaking. And it can be lethal. If you're diabetic and your blood sugar tanks because you're not eating.
So do you also consider college students who are struggling, they eat ramen noodles, I think
college students can be food insecure too.
So, seriously, like there are a lot of college students who just barely there, and they're on scholarships, and they rely on those ramen noodles, canned tunas, and stuff. Like I'm being serious. Like, I feel like that's actually a big deal too, as well, in a sense. But obviously, they're not to like an extreme where, okay, I mean, they're not that super extreme where they can't put food on the table themselves, but it's still. I feel like
some of them are. Some of them
are, yeah.
But
yeah. I think if I had a magic wand, I would try to solve the problem of food insecurity. But I think to solve the problem of food insecurity, it's a larger issue of looking
at a lot of aspects of that to tackle, right? So
poverty, the income gap that we have between the wealthiest and the poorest.
So why would you say it's a human right to have access to that? Like, what do you mean like by that? Like, so like saying like, hey, I can walk into a community fridge, just grab anything I want, in a sense? Like, is that what you meant? Like,
no, I mean that there would be access to everybody, that you wouldn't be restricted, right? That food deserts would have access to healthier grocery options, and that folks that were on SNAP nutrition would have access to a wide range of foods instead of those that are just contracted, or that choice would actually be there. I think that we sometimes operate from this myth that everybody has the same set of choices to make in life.
We don't. It's just an assumption because we live in our own bubble.
Yeah. So I think if things actually were that way, then that would be ideal. And that we could say, well, Johnny doesn't want to eat anything other than McDonald's, so that's on Johnny. But that's not the case, right? Johnny might only have access to that McDonald's or only be able to afford that McDonald's. So I think, considering health as a human right, which it is, health is a human right, is playing into that larger conversation of like, okay, well, how are we going to actually make it equitable for everybody to access, to be able to make choices, actual choices of what they want, what they need, instead of kind of like prescribing that judgment while giving that aid to somebody. Because like you're giving somebody a voucher and saying, hey, go get some food, but then you're also telling them, well, by the way, you have to choose from the list that I give you.
That's true.
What you want.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, it's hard to do
but
that.
Like the restrictions on food, I feel like it was like a lot of it was like groceries and stuff. Like it didn't seem that restrictive.
What are you talking about, food stamp? I mean, it says no hot food, obviously no cigarettes, liquor, wine, whatever, things like that. So
which are more expensive anyways, right?
Yeah, correct.
Like a hot food would be more expensive than
like a deli or something.
Yeah.
And it shows like fruits, vegetables, meat, dairy products, bread.
But I think they're limited by brand though, too. Though I don't think that I don't think the list goes into detail though. Let me tell you. So they're probably limited by certain brands and stuff.
It might be an issue where like organic food and like the high quality food is much more expensive. So
Yeah,
then
but
It's less
even if
accessible. Think about it though, like going back to
so
accessibility
like even
behind
if
it.
they had these food stamps, they'd be like, all right, I could spend 30 cents on a banana versus like $1.50 on a banana that's organic,
Yeah,
right? Like it's
yeah,
I mean, that's certainly that's a good point. But even if so in my brain, like making the playing field equitable would be looking and saying, and again, this would be an ideal
yeah,
situation, but saying like, okay, I'm going to give this person, I want this person to have a healthy lifestyle, right? The website says these are the things that might be a little bit healthier. These are the recommendations.
yep,
But when you're living within those economic constraints, sometimes the healthy lifestyle isn't the option because you can get more bang for your buck with maybe the less healthy things.
mhm.
So how do we change that to where that's incentivized and we're actually helping that person achieve the healthier lifestyle? So the playing field is just from top to bottom, it doesn't sit well with me in terms of equity, because it doesn't take into consideration that I could go to the store and pick fruits and vegetables and do all of these things, because I have the ability to do that economically, but somebody else might not have the ability to make those same choices, even with food stamps, just depending on where they're coming from and what their circumstances are.
True.
that's for sure though. And I feel like also like in a sense that, so you would think that, as the world progressed to become, more and more quote unquote educated, right? And I still think, it comes down to is having that access of the ability to having the healthy food, right? I just feel like having listen, organic food should be accessible to everybody. It shouldn't be that expensive, but it is though. It's like a luxury item for, for people, and it shouldn't be though. Like, but the things that though, as the population gets, I guess, as increases over time, I just feel like food scarcity is going to be even more though, in a sense, because we're not. I don't think we're to a point that, um, like, I don't think we can sustain grow that much organic food for that many people population. I think that's just why we see all this processed food. We see all this stuff filling, because, and there's a whole industry behind that. That's,
It
especially
costs more to make those foods,
correct.
right?
Well, think about the sugar industry, right? The sugar industry was developed just to feed feed America. That's what it was. Feed the United States, because it was the easiest, cheapest way to do that, and that
Mhm.
destroyed a lot of nutritional value behind that. But it was cheap and it was good to, it was putting food in people's, stomach.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, so one of the documentaries I watched on Netflix, I want to say it was Forks Over Knives, and it
Yeah,
was about a vegetarian lifestyle.
yeah.
And I think they talk a little bit about
It's a plant-based lifestyle as well as,
farming,
yeah,
yeah, farming and agriculture, um, and the food industry. So sugar and corn and all of these other things that are not necessarily healthy,
yeah.
but how much they're lobbying for policy in Washington. And it's fascinating just to even look at it, how we're influenced with our purchasing and our choices when we're in the grocery store based on the marketing that
Oh, they're
these
so
big
smart how they stable and
corporations.
how they able to like put the way they design the shelves, the display, things
Hmm.
like that. Like how they know how you walk it and they know exactly how to get you.
Yeah, it's fascinating just to even, that's a whole other topic too, but even
Yeah.
just to think about it from that standpoint and how that influences our decisions. Like, I swear, every time I see a Chick-fil-A commercial, my vegetarian mind just was like, oh, those nuggets are so good. Like that craving just starts.
Wait, are you vegetarian now?
I would say I'm 80/20. I probably shouldn't call myself a vegetarian. I
Yeah.
don't cook any meat at home.
Okay.
But if my parents are cooking something, I'll partake, or
Gotcha. So you
if I'm
balance
out
it
to
out.
dinner.
You try to balance it a little bit better from.
Yeah,
Okay, that's smart
yeah,
though. Yeah.
yeah. So everything I eat at home is vegetarian, but when I'm
Plant
out and
based.
about, not so much. Yeah.
Was it a hard transition for you?
The first time I did it, it was. So I tried to become vegetarian several years ago, like
Like
maybe five
you
or
cut it off
six.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't know what I was doing. And so I ate a lot of grains and I
Okay.
just felt really tired all the time. And actually put on weight because of that, because it was like bagels and peanut butter. And things that I were like, oh, this is like vegetarian. I don't have to worry about it. I thought it was like a free for all, and it was not. So I stopped and went back to meat, and then I restarted and kind of learned a little bit more about, what kind of complex proteins are good for vegetarians, and
so what do you do differently
eating
now?
more
Like, what do you
proteins? Yeah. So
what
more
is it like?
beans.
Okay.
More beans, tofu. There's some marinated brands of tofu that I really like.
I feel like there's more choices nowadays, though, to be honest, too. Think about it, though. I feel like
it's night and day. Even a few years ago to today, it's just, there's a lot more options available.
Yeah. When I went to LA, I was exposed to a huge big vegan culture out there. The creative behind those food is amazing. Like, I love their fake nachos, but it tastes like real cheese. Let me tell you, like,
is that real? It tastes like real cheese. I don't know. I've never tasted vegan cheese that tastes any good.
I don't know.
Never.
This restaurant had they were bold enough to show you the recipe, so they didn't care. Like, literally, like, I don't know. It was good.
I have to try it to believe it. Most places I go that are vegan, I would not look at anything cheese. Anything cheese related is not on the, like, I'm not gonna choose it. It just doesn't taste the same.
Their fake chicken with made out of jackfruit is pretty good too. They did a really good job on that. Like,
have you been to Market on South in Orlando?
No.
Go there. It's comfort food, but it's all vegan.
It's my favorite place. Deep fry.
Yep. Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, roasted Brussels sprouts.
Wait, what did they do fried chicken with? I'm curious now.
So they have two different options, and I think they have more, but I've had two different ones. One was buffalo. Yeah. So good. And the other one was like some sort of house blend.
Buffalo meat?
Buffalo fried chicken, but it's chicken. Yeah. It's not chicken.
Yeah, it's a vegan place.
What do you mean chicken but not chicken?
It's vegan.
It's soy.
It's fake chicken.
Fake chicken.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, no.
What's it called? Market South?
Market on South, yeah.
Market on South. Where's that at?
I've only been to Ethos in Orlando.
Okay.
Ooh, I haven't been to Ethos. But
Ethos is amazing. It really is. It's really.
Wait, you like Ethos?
It's really good vegan food, but I just don't do anything cheese. Just no. But like, that food is actually good, and that's like good food. Whereas most vegan food is like good for vegan food or good for vegetarian.
I see what you're saying. It's
like,
that's fair.
It's not good food. It doesn't taste good. It just tastes good for whatever restrictions you have. But Ethos actually is good food. It tastes good.
I've heard their lasagna is really good.
Yeah.
So for me, Ethos is a hit or miss, depends on the dish. I do think that they do try hard enough to be creative to cater for everybody, though. Like you said, Robert, like, it's not just necessarily for vegan, right? They actually try to cater for everybody.
It's like good tasting food rather than just good tasting food for vegan food. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's which I hate anyone who says.
So when my parents had a restaurant in South Florida, their niche, one of the niche was vegetarian food, but because like we had a lot of monks that came to our restaurant. Like, my mom used to make the fake pork, the fake chicken, the fake duck, and everything. Like mimicking the sauces, mimicking the texture and everything. And we were known for that. And so, like, for me, like, I've been exposed to vegetarian food, like the different kind of variety, for the longest periods of my time. And that's just why when I go to like a vegan restaurant, I'm like, okay, this is crap. Like,
go to Market on South. Yeah, like, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, my level of expectation like did not surpass. Like, it was hard to meet that, at least in Florida. When I went to LA, though, let me tell you, it surpassed it. I was very impressed about that. I was like, okay.
I know that it's a big scene in LA too, so they probably have a ton of options.
Oh yeah, it's from Santa Monica to Sherman Oaks to like even West Hollywood. Like, I feel like also people are more conscious about it now because they realize it's also an environmental issue as well. And so they're trying. So for me, I've tried my best to reduce my meat intake by at least 50% this past year.
That's awesome.
It's harder than I thought it would be because I do like to grill a lot, like red meat, stuff like that, and it's hard. But I've done a pretty decent job at it. But it's still a struggle sometimes.
But they make have you heard of Beyond Meat?
Okay. Yes.
So I made burgers one day and my dad came over and it still smelled like burgers, and he was like, "Oh, you made hamburgers. Oh, that smells really good." And I was like, "Yeah, you want?"
Dad? Wait, did you trick
your
dad?
No, I was like,
you should have tricked your dad.
He goes, "Yeah, I would eat that." And I said, "It's the Beyond Meat stuff I was telling you about." And he was like, no.
What?
Like,
So you
there's
should have
no
tricked him.
way.
You should have tricked
You
him.
should
though.
have like let him try it. It's
Yeah.
actually not bad. The
No, it's not
pro-
bad.
the
Pretty
problem
good.
with it is I had it at like a high end, like a higher end restaurant next to like a really good hamburger.
Hamburger
So
place.
I'm
No, you
like,
did not.
so yeah, so I had one. My friend got the Beyond Meat or whatever. Like, there's another
Yeah.
brand, right? So we got the fake meat one. I had the regular one, and you can really taste the difference if you're in that setting.
Side by side.
But I think
yeah.
if you were in like somewhere else where it wasn't as high
like
end,
someone's kitchen where it's
someone's
just
kitchen
basic.
maybe, yeah, you like if you really, it's really not that different at all. But
No,
if it's a very high end thing, you definitely taste the difference.
So I can tell the difference because my stomach reacts to it. So
Oh, really?
yeah, my stomach doesn't respond very well to Impossible Burger. If something processed that I just
Mhm.
at least the Impossible Burger, but the Beyond Meat one, it does respond. It still kind of reacts a little bit, so I can taste the texture. I think they've done a really good job
Really good job.
texture wise.
Mhm.
They did a good job cooking it, like the way it cooks coming out of the red meat. They did a really good job on that piece. But so like for me, just my stomach cannot handle that. I don't know why. So I try to avoid it if I can. I actually like the beans burger. The black bean burgers are pretty good for me.
Mm.
Like if you know how to cook it right, it doesn't become too dry. But I know what you mean though. Like a lot of people like the fake chicken stuff too as well.
Mhm.
And I think Beyond Meats are coming out with different stuff as as it progresses.
Yeah, I think so. I think Market on South actually makes their own chicken, like their own fake chicken.
Really?
I don't know how. I want to say they do. Hopefully, I didn't dream that up, but I think they do. They make it in house.
No,
It's so good.
I gotta definitely try that for sure though.
I mean, they have like mac and cheese. They have 3 different varieties of mac and cheese. They have a whole bakery. I mean, yeah, it's one of my
I
favorite
think
places.
I could. No, I can't go vegetarian or vegan or whatever. I've said that I could go vegetarian if I could eat steak. That's which doesn't really help at all.
That just means no carb at all.
That means no chicken, no pork, no anything. I'm like, I can eat as long as I have steak, I'm good. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely couldn't do vegan just because I love cheese so much.
Mm.
See,
do
same here for me. I
Yeah.
can't. It's hard for me to cut the dairy part of it. I love cheese so much too. Like, so I realized when I went on keto one time, I realized, okay, what's actually partaking my diet pieces, and I
Mhm.
realized, and then after keto, I went paleo, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm eating so much processed food, and
Yeah.
and that's when that's when I realized, okay, how much processed food was in my food chain in a sense, right? And so I'm like, holy crap, even my ketchup, even my, everything, you think about it. And
Mhm.
so, and then that's where I took a hard look. Okay, you can control what you cook, right? But when you go eat out, you cannot control that at all. Like everything goes out the window. Like even though they can say the best, healthiest thing, something in it that it just throws it out the window no matter what, though.
Yeah,
And
it's totally true.
it's super hard. For me, when I was on the road, I eat out a lot all the time. I try to be healthy, and it's hard. You could be as healthy as possible, but and even if you go to like a high-end restaurant, right, you ask for just a simple steak and mashed potato, but that mashed potato could have,
Lots of butter.
a lot of butter and a lot of
Oil.
oil, things things that you would never think of, and then this mashed potato instead of 500 calories becomes 1,000 calories right away.
Yeah.
That's what makes it good, though.
I know. I was gonna say it's really good though. I know. I'm starting to think like even if I cook something that's unhealthy and I make it at home, I'm still counting it as healthy because I didn't get it takeout,
At least you know everything's good.
That's true.
It's true. Yeah. And it's even like the bad dishes for you are so much better just to do it at home.
I feel like I think because of COVID, everybody need to learn how to cook and learn how to bake. I feel like everybody was baking at home.
I know everybody was like bread and anything else they could do.
Yeah, seriously.
Even I learned how to was cooking at home. Like I don't ever cook.
Yeah, Robert.
Before COVID, I never cooked a meal. Or mac and cheese from a box would be like the most I would do, right?
Yeah.
And then I did like a little cooking show for like 20 weeks.
Yeah.
But then and then afterwards I was like, this is too much work. I'm back to eating out.
See, Robert is he's not even food insecure. He doesn't cook at home. See, you think about it. And how do you expect people?
I know. Also, like, going back to that, right? Like, one last thing, right? Like, I feel like we are so gluttonous as a country. We shouldn't have people who are not like who are food insecure, right? Like we're
Yeah.
so gluttonous just in general.
Oh
We
yeah,
have so
the
much
portion
food.
size in general. With the food waste behind that, to be
Yeah, we
honest. You
waste
think
so
about
much food. Like, how can
yeah,
we waste this much food and then have people that are starving?
yeah.
Hmm.
Makes no sense.
I mean,
It,
but how can we spend so much on healthcare and have people that
it
are
was
so
started.
sick?
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's true too. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel like, and it's kind. I mean, believe it or not, obviously, like I feel like the politicians and the greed behind that has to do a lot with that too as well, though. And but
A
how
lot
do
of
you fix
lobbyists
that
too.
part? All the lobbies. How do you fix that though? Like it,
We got
as
to
long,
fix the system. How do you
well,
fix any like major social thing in America? It's
but
like,
you mentioned this earlier, right? You said that food has to be, most at first human rights, right? Instead of for
mhm,
profit in a sense. I feel like higher end food could be for profit, but in terms of like the basic necessity, healthy food should be accessible no matter what to whatever
mhm.
tier you are in. So
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah. It shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to make sacrifices
yeah,
just to live, like sacrifice your health just to live. I saw so many patients where they were sacrificing something in their life, and sometimes it landed them in the hospital because, it catches up with you after a certain point.
so
So,
when I was in Santa Monica, all these homeless people I see out there, right? In a sense,
mm,
like even if they get money for food, like they don't. It's kind of like they had to make that choice. They had to get the cheapest thing because they need to make this dollar last longer.
mhm.
And so, like you said, it's just a
It's
sacrifice
funny because
behind.
like one of the there was a podcast guy, the guy who wrote like 4 Hour Work Week.
Oh, Tim
Whatever.
Ferriss.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Oh,
he went and
yeah,
like talked to a homeless guy and in San Francisco and was like, "Oh,
yeah,
if you need stuff, where do you go?" And he
yeah.
followed the guy around. He's like, "Oh yeah, you need if you need some like clothes and stuff, you go over here. If you need and he went to a place where like if you need food, there's food here. Like just like there's like they he doesn't want like those people don't want food because they have places to they can get it. Um,
mm,
which is which might be just like a San Francisco thing.
mm.
But
I
it
know
seems
exactly what you're talking about. I think this is during 2011. He did this episode.
yeah,
Hang
he
on.
did an episode
He,
on it and he
he
talked
did
about
episode
it.
on it. He talked about it. Yeah, it's like he followed like it's like the walking tour of homelessness, right, in San
Yeah,
Francisco.
yeah.
Oh, hang on. I actually remember reading about this. Was this recently though, or was it?
Oh, it was a long time ago. It wasn't.
Oh, really?
It
Like
wasn't recent.
I know exactly. I know exactly
Yeah,
what
but
you're talking about.
he did do an episode where he just like followed a homeless guy and was like, "Oh yeah." Like so his mentality on homeless changed completely because he's like these guys have everything. They just don't want to do
What do you?
anything. Like they don't want to I mean, they're comfortable in their lifestyle. That's what they want.
I
Is it?
think at a certain point you learn how to adapt.
Mhm.
But I don't know if I would. Sometimes there's things that even, when you're homeless, it makes it difficult to get out of homeless. Like you might need an ID or something to be able to apply to get food stamps or some of these programs. I know you're like, it's
I'm
dark
like
over here.
I'm brightening up like it's
Sun's alive over there. But I mean, even those impediments that can make it hard for people to get out of the cycle of poverty.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think homelessness is one of those things. And so if you're in homelessness or you are homeless for so long, you learn to adapt of where can you go for a shower, where can you go for this and that.
Mhm.
But it's hard for folks when they're in poverty to rise up from that because we don't have a system that
Well,
helps
to get out of that in
sometimes.
general.
Yeah.
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 Sometimes there's more blockades than there are folks that are trying. There's a lot of people trying to do good
But
work.
do you also
But
think though, like they're comfortable because okay, they have access to this, and you think they don't want to get out sometimes?
I mean, I think that perhaps there are some people that live and are comfortable.
Yeah.
But I would be hesitant to make that a generalization. Just
Oh no,
like
yeah,
it
you can
would
generalize
be,
that for sure. You cannot.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is a very San Francisco like
Yeah.
specific thing.
And,
So it might
Mhm.
just be here and it might even just be like a small pocket in San Francisco.
yeah, that's true too.
Like
Yeah.
we don't
Yeah.
know.
You don't see that in Orlando. Let me
He
tell you, in
followed
Orlando,
one
people.
person around, right? So like how
Yeah.
can you you can't really generalize from all of
Right.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm for sure in Orlando, like they don't have this kind of program to, and I feel like homelessness in Orlando has gotten worse as
It has as the time has gone on.
Oh, has
Yeah,
it?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. and we're trying to figure out like where is this coming about in a sense. Like if you would think that all those programs that Orlando has developed as they push more towards Paramore, they try to lift people out of Section 8 houses, things like that, give them so they've done a pretty good job of giving low-income family houses where they can rent to own, and you would think that they were able to rise out of that, right? But I feel like homelessness has gotten worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a all-encompassing issue. I think there's so many things that go into what
Shelter,
causes
for
the
sure, is another one.
problem and what becomes a consequence of the problem that it's hard to discern sometimes what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Also, you like implement one thing and it'll help, but it might lead to other repercussions we don't see, and that could be worse.
Yeah.
Right.
So, all right. So let me ask you this, Chrissy. During the holidays, where people can help out with this kind of situation, so at least for the short term time being.
Yeah. So depending on where you are, what I would say is check in with your local churches,
That's a good way to
especially during the
start.
holidays. Yeah. So I know the Episcopal Church of St. John the Baptist in West Orlando has a really great food drive that they've been doing. They've been providing to hundreds of community members, kind of trying to take up the work of some of these pantries that had to shut their doors because of COVID. So they're doing a phenomenal job donating to places like Second Harvest, Feeding America. Your local food banks and food pantries is another great thing to do. But yeah, definitely check out the churches because they're stepping up a lot trying to help.
Do you think food banks? I mean, if you donate to food banks, do you think those food are healthier enough? I guess I feel like sometimes like it's like I mean, you have to do something then better than nothing, right?
Yeah, and I think sometimes with the COVID response,
that's true.
When so many people being in need, anything helps. Anything
That's
helps when you don't have. So definitely whatever can be spared. If you can grab a couple items of canned food while you're at the store, if you can pitch in with a group of friends to buy a turkey. I know there's a lot of food pantries that do like Thanksgiving meals for folks. Or Christmas meals for folks throughout the holidays. So having even like a local food drive within your own social network is a great thing to do because the people that might know somebody you can just go and collect in one day, and that's a huge load that can go for one week to somebody in need.
Gotcha. And I think, especially like community-wise, I think Nextdoor app I've seen a lot of Nextdoor apps community people being active about that, especially in College Park. And I think that app alone has helped a lot of like again creating a little awareness in the different community areas though.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. Alrighty, we're gonna I guess wrap this up. I know, Chrissy, we don't want to take too much of your time.
Oh, you guys are fine. This has been great.
No, but appreciate it thank you for hopping on to teach us about food security and to kind of talk about. I feel like this is a conversation doesn't really come up in a day-to-day conversation, especially among our friends. To be honest, like unless you either go through it or you study in it
or like you see it, like it's
yeah,
it's not really top of mind a lot of the time.
It's definitely not top of mind though, for sure. So we wanna wrap up this episode with a rant. Your venting session. What do you want to vent, Robert? You want to start with that?
For me, like I'm gonna keep going on this non-rant, talk about the poker beef. So for people who don't know, there's these two poker players who are very famous poker players. One is a YouTuber. The other guy is like Negreanu, who's like one of the top players ever to play. They have some like Twitter beef or whatever. They don't really like each other, so they decided to play 1-on-1, 1v1 poker for like they put up $1 million
heads up, right?
each,
heads up, right?
Playing heads up, and then they're playing huge blinds, like I think they're now at 200, 400.
So it's online and in person, right? That's what it was.
Online, 2 tables at a time. When we like last week, we were talking. Daniel Negreanu was up, or I think it was about even, maybe about 25,000.
He's doing well online. He's just doing well, pretty well.
Yeah, he's not an online player, but somehow he's doing very well. And then this week it continued on where he went up like 200,000.
Yeah.
And now he's back down. Like Doug had a good session back, and so it's back down to like basically even, less than a buy-in each. So They're at like almost 3,800 hands.
So he's holding his ground though.
He's
That's
holding his
good.
ground well, and it's
Yeah.
the total is going to be 25,000 hands. I think they have a buyout at 12,000, like half 12,500 if someone doesn't like wants to quit.
So wait, what's the crown price exactly?
I don't know if they have like a wager on it.
You don't have a wager on it? What's the point of that then?
It's
I mean,
it's a beef.
12,000 hands. I would hope not.
There's a lot of time you put in effort into that though. Let me tell you.
I mean, I think, yeah, I don't think there's a wager between the two of them, but other people, like, they've put bets with other people, right?
Gotcha.
And Daniel has like a 4-1 underdog when it started, so like people are putting up 10,000 to win 40,000.
That makes sense.
Right, and because he's a big underdog online, he doesn't play online at all, but he is like basically even.
Wait, did his odds change?
I mean, right now, if you're getting 4-1, I would take that 100,000 times out of 1,000. It's crazy, right? Like right now, he is holding his ground, and he looks like he's doing well. So
Gotcha. All right, so no rant for you. Okay,
no
got
rant.
it. All right, so okay, how about you, Chrissy? You have any rant? Anything you want to let go of your chest for this week?
I guess my car.
Wait, what about your car?
My car is the contender this week. The AC has been going on and off in the car for like a year and a half now.
What do you drive right now? I'm just wondering.
Honda CRV,
Okay.
2004.
Okay.
So she's a little bit older. But it did not work for about 10 months straight. Like the AC just was completely out. Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised for a Honda, by the way.
I know, right? I don't know what the deal is, but so all summer long I went without AC in this car. No big deal. Like
you went all summer with no AC.
We hear that in Florida.
I did that one time in Florida, and it was the worst.
It's terrible.
It was terrible.
It's so terrible, but it was fine. I was making it through. And then I went to take the car to get it appraised.
Yeah.
Because I thought I had an opportunity to buy a different car. And that day, the AC kicked back on and started working. The same day.
Wow.
I know. It's ridiculous. So it's been working since then, and that's been about a month or so.
The car knew you're gonna sell her. Don't sell me.
He knew. She was like, "No, I'm destined for the junkyard. I gotta work now."
Doesn't that mean that your value went up? So you might as well sell it while the value is
high.
high.
Value went up.
Maybe the car wanted to get sold. It was like, I'm gonna turn on, and so you can sell
a better price.
Get a better price.
I had to be honest too, because I was like, I don't know how long this is gonna last, with the AC being on.
How many miles do you have in your car?
Close to 200,000. I think I'm at 190 or
2004,
180.
16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So yeah, but then today I drove it and the AC started fidgeting again, like it was blowing hot and not cold. I was like, oh, we're coming back to this. So I thought that it had a problem. My mechanic told me that there was a leak in the engine. Yeah. And so the cost of repairing it would have been more than the car is worth. So I was like, I'm just going to live with it. But now I don't think it's a leak because otherwise it wouldn't have blown cold.
Let me ask you this. You said you got to appraise. How much is this car worth now? $1,000?
Want to guess?
$2,000.
Okay, so let me give you some context. Okay. No working AC. I told him that it was finicky, which is true.
Finicky.
No, you should have been like, it always works. Look at this. It's such cold air, the coldest air you've ever seen.
That day, it started working, and I was like, my luck, they're gonna take it around the block, and it's gonna blow hot. So,
and then you'd be like, it's never happened before.
I can't. I do not have a poker face.
You broke my AC.
You owe me a car. No, so and she has a lot of age spots on the hood, so she's missing paint. Paint's not good. And so guess how much you think?
2,500.
Wow, you really think highly of my car.
CRV, 16 years old.
Though. I mean, it's a mini
200,000 miles.
Yeah.
1,800, I guess.
You want to guess, Robert?
Oh, me? I don't know, 1,200, 1,500? 1,500 sounds good.
1,500.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I was texting my friends and I said they offered me 1,500 and they were all like, are they drunk? Are they okay? Like, which CarMax is this? I'm going to bring my car over.
Oh, this is CarMax that you went to. Oh, I thought it was something else. Wow, CarMax, that seems overpriced for CarMax. They usually buy it super low, right?
Yeah, I don't know what was happening that day, but I kept her.
You said no? You said no? You kept her?
Yeah, I kept her because the other car that I was interested in fell through. So,
Okay.
and then the air started working. Like she works completely fine other than the air.
What were you looking at? What other car are you looking at?
It was a Ford Explorer and it was older than my car, but it had less mileage on it. It was
Got
like
it.
77,000.
Yeah, you wanted a bigger car?
I just wanted a car that had air.
I
But
know.
you use
I
you
know,
could
but
use
that Ford Explorer, that gas
the
cost
gas,
gotta
yeah.
be crazy.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a blessing that it didn't work out
You just
because
take it. You should just pick up a Toyota or a Camry or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah,
like any Toyota would do. You could even do
anything. Yeah. At this point, I'm just trying to
Toyotas are good
graduate,
too.
and that'll be the first expense that I have is a car.
Yeah, that's true. Get it. At least on the bright side, you don't have to drive to school as often, though, right?
No, that's true. Like,
Mm.
the air kind of officially stopped when the pandemic started. So
Yeah.
I've been really, blessed as I can be staying home, during this time. So
Do
it's
you
been,
do you bring two change of clothes every time you go somewhere now?
I
Because you
started to, yeah, I did during the
you
summer.
sweat so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. I brought myself a new shirt every time I went because it was terrible.
Oh my god, that's nuts. Yeah,
I'm gonna take it
like
to a
summer in
specialist.
Florida with no AC.
It's
It's
brutal.
brutal.
Yeah.
Really the
But I'm
worst.
going to take it to a specialist and get it checked out and go from there. My hope is not lost because it does come back on every now and then. So
Okay,
we'll
so
see. But that's my rant this week.
so it may cost you a couple $100 just to fix and maintain that a little. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, which I will do for air conditioning.
That's true. I mean, to be honest though, I don't really have much of a rant. It's more like annoyance. I'm like, so I was just driving back and forth in Orlando in the highway. I realized, man, I hate these people driving here in Orlando. They don't know how to drive. I mean, and also I guess I didn't drive that much
In
LA.
Orlando, is it worse than I thought?
Well, I don't drive
Orlando's.
that much in LA, so I didn't.
Oh,
So I forgot how annoying driving is in Orlando is,
Oh,
and I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't drive in. I wish I don't have to drive in Orlando, but I have to drive in Orlando.
we are
And
spread out.
yeah, and it's really annoying. I'm like, damn it.
but
So like,
you can't take Uber everywhere in Orlando.
actually more costly than it is in LA, believe it or not. I don't know because I feel like even though everything's a bit quote unquote closer, the traffic takes you longer time, right? And so
Mhm.
at least when for
You
me
think
in
traffic
LA,
is worse in Orlando than in
no,
LA? That sounds
no. So at least LA,
wrong.
though, for me, I was able to take the train and then take the Uber. I take the train to just go to longer distance to get to my destination, right? And it bypasses the traffic. And
Mm.
so
Mm.
here, I don't have the option to do that. It's either you take the public bus or you take Uber. And
You gotta get a skateboard, man.
yeah, I'll get run over here.
Get an
You
electric
You
know?
would.
skateboard.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just realized how annoying it was because I mean,
Mm.
thank God at least the iPhone construction in my area is most of it's already done, which is
Yeah.
Mm.
nice. But so I had to go to like Tampa this weekend, and God, passing through Disney is still like hell. And then, I'm like, what are people doing here? We're in the middle of a pandemic.
I know,
What is-
pandemic. People go. My sister went to Disney.
Well, no, it's
I'm
not
like,
even
what are you
that, though.
doing? Like, what are you
Well,
crazy?
But it's not even that though. That's just the amount of traffic by Disney. Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like even Disney, they restricted on how many people can go to Disney. But I'm
Mm.
like, what's going on? Why am I hitting traffic?
I mean,
Yeah.
because they're still trying to get in. They're gonna wait in
Yeah.
line until they can be the next ones in.
I don't know. It's if so. So I guess my event is like, I hate driving in Orlando. Right now.
You're having to adjust.
I haven't adjusted humidity and I haven't adjusted driving again.
The humidity is another thing.
I don't
That-
envy the humidity for you, Mike.
It's terrible.
Not at all.
The
Yeah.
humidity is terrible.
I literally walk out and I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my god, this is so
Mhm.
horrible.
I hate it when I walk out and my glasses fog up. I'm like, this is gonna be
That's
not
right.
fun.
And you don't wear contacts either, right?
No, not usually. So yeah, it happens quite often, especially after it rains.
I feel your pain. Yeah.
Is that by choice
Yes.
though? You don't wear contacts. Is it by choice? Like, or you just don't like?
I do on special occasions, but my eyes are so dry that they just get irritated.
Yeah,
So
don't-
it's just easier.
Don't go
to
to
wear
LA. Your eyes
glasses.
is drier. It's worse there.
Really? Than
Oh,
here?
I had to when I went to California, I had to use eye drop here and there because it's
Mm.
drier for sure.
Yeah. I'm waiting for them to actually, so they make contacts that are, I don't know, like a different material that's not supposed to irritate dry eyes, but it does not work for me. So I'm waiting for them to actually make one that works.
Just
Yeah,
get
I'm just gonna
LASIK.
wait for LASIK. Yeah.
Yeah, just get LASIK. Yeah.
I am so scared of LASIK.
Why?
The thought of somebody lasering my eyeball
It takes
freaks
2
me
minutes.
out.
It
takes
is
2
so
minutes.
like
It's so fast.
they have so much. They've done it so many times. I feel
Yeah.
like we're like way past like that intro
Yeah.
stage where we have some
Yeah.
problem. And you could also do like one eye at a time if you're really
You
scared.
should. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, believe it or
maybe.
not, I did it on a Groupon. So.
Yeah,
What?
Mike did it on a Groupon. I'm
Yeah.
I feel like that's not something you should do on a Groupon.
That's what I told him. I was like, I don't think that's the way to go.
Well, okay. So my friend Sam, he did it a Groupon too, right? So he found it Groupon, and I'm like, "Are you sure this is safe?" And so we looked at the doctors up. Okay, they were pretty well prestige doctors. This guy flew from New York to Orlando back and forth every single week just to do LASIK surgery.
Groupons.
And so,
Just for the
Groupons.
Groupon.
but let me tell you though, it saved a big chunk of money. But I don't know. I had a great experience. I was in and out in 15 minutes, literally. And then it took me 3 days to get my full, I guess, not blurry vision back in a sense. So, not actually less than 3 days.
When you wait, so when you do your LASIK, right, and you get out after 15 minutes, like it's blurry for days.
It's not blurry. It's just that you cannot be exposed to sunlight, right? So like you can still see because you're watery, your eyes watery all the time, you know. So it's for me it was a little bit blurry because my eye was just watery consistently, and you're supposed to take drops too on top of that to let it heal. And you're not supposed to go outside the sunlight to see direct sunlight, things like that. So you're supposed to wear this shade for like 2 days or so. Yeah. So I mean,
but it's clear. But like,
yeah,
your vision is clear.
Your vision is bright clear. Like a lot of people after 3 to 4 hours, they wake up from the nap and they're bright clear right away. For me, it was just watery because and that made it blurry. And you know, I also had astigmatism as well in my eyes.
So does it work? Okay, so that was my next question because I have astigmatism in both.
Me too.
Okay, and I know that's like more about the shape of your eye, right?
Yeah. So actually, that reduces dramatically. So nighttime right now, I don't get that weird glow, like that weird glow.
Yeah, like the halo.
Yeah. The halo. Yeah, it does. I mean, it's done wonderful. I got rid of it, most of it, I guess you can say. But
I don't even know if I would know what that looks like without without that ring.
it's a
you're like looking at it, you're like, oh, there, like, is it bright? Is there light coming from that?
Yeah. No, it's definitely a game changer for sure. And my first time, I'm like driving at night, I'm like, whoa, holy crap! I can actually see this light. I can actually see this. This is actually like this is what normal feels like.
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to just wake up and go and not have to mess with glasses.
But let me tell you though, I don't think you will be able to get rid of astigmatism 100%, just because it's just because right now I feel like obviously as you get older your eyes will get worse no matter what though. Just that the doctor told me that you may have to retouch it every 10 years. So yeah.
Okay.
So about the lifetime warranty. So
okay.
Yeah.
So does it affect how close you can read? So when my mom got hers done, she's nearsighted, so she can't see things far away.
Yeah.
But as soon as she got it done, she had to start using reading glasses, basically.
So it depends also how you get operated, right? There's different ways to operate your eyes. And also it depends on the shape of your eye. You may have to only be restricted to one type of operations. So this varies per person. So for me, I can read near and far, no matter what, no issue with that.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm actually nearsighted as well. I can't my measurement was negative 6.9, 6.8.
Oof.
Yeah.
You're worse than me.
Wait, really? My glasses is this thick, literally. So
my glasses are that thick. This is like the
holy
This is like I have like the smallest way you can get glass. Like I put all the money into making them as small as possible, and they're like this thick. And you're like,
what's the lens called? The specific material for that? I was like poly. I forgot what it was called. Like
polycarbonate.
Yeah, polycarbonate lenses that purposely is really ultra
and then now they have other ones, so they can add something else to make it even smaller. So I had like three upgrades to it to make it smaller, and it's still this thick. And I'm like, wow, this is. I guess I have bad eyesight.
Wait, how bad is your measurement though? What is it?
I don't remember.
Are you legally blind without glasses?
I can see about a inch from my face, like this far from my face, like maybe 2 inches from my face.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Otherwise, it's completely blurry.
All right, we could do a whole episode about
about glasses. Yeah.
All right, well, Chrissie, you want to pimp anything now? Anybody want to follow? Where I guess you have your Twitter account?
Yeah, Twitter is up there. That's the one that's public, I think. You can follow me on Instagram. I'll make it public or open it up. But so my handle is oh goodness, Chrissie 33. I'm really bad at social media, guys. But I think it's CHRISSIE 33. I think is my handle for Instagram.
And you said that Second Harvest is one of the website people should check out about food security. They can help out.
Yeah,
definitely.
We'll put that link
Second Harvest of Central Florida. And then if you're not in Central Florida area, just Google Feeding America or your local food banks, and I would recommend there, or in your local churches as well.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you having you on. And for those who are not watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe. And for those who are watching on YouTube, hit the like button on this video and smash the subscribe button, please.
Yeah, and visit us on our website, www.gfothoughts.com.
I keep forgetting about our website.
There you go, Mike.
This is like the 20th episode. I keep forgetting about our website.
You'll get it next time.
Right. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Chrissie. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
See everyone later.
Have a good one.
Peace.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Gluten-Free Organic Thoughts podcast. As always, we appreciate you. If you are watching us on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this episode, and leave us a comment. If you are listening to us, please leave us your honest review on your preferred podcast listening platform. And as always, you can find us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GFOT Thoughts. Drop a comment and give us some feedback. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, see you then.